You may have noticed that the recent Jamhuri Day, when the president was walking among the members of the disciplined forces, there were some few men who were dressed in suits and they were following the president. Actually, you'll see that when they were walking, they were holding their coats. When I was employed into Kenya Police at Kiganjo in 1982, even during my own uh, passing out parade or graduation, there was no such a provision. But today, around 90% of the presidents in the world do have such civilian people, okay, call them civilian, do have people in civilian who, whenever they are working among the disciplined forces, you will see that this person in civilians usually works with the president and the military bosses. Why is it so? And as I said, it happens in over 90% of the presidents world over. Now you see the picture here. The picture here is what made presidents in the world do that. A president may be a populist. He may tell his security team not to do that. But I have to tell you that security people are the only people who can tell the president to his eye. Someone once said that the first lady, or in case of a country like Tanzania, the first gentleman, is the only other person who can tell the president to his or her eyes that this one is not going to be that way. And the president cannot question that and will just follow that as if it is an order. I want also to remind you that Rigiji is going around telling people that he was telling the president that he was concerned about intelligence officers kidnapping people, and the names of the security personnel are distorted. And according to Rigiji, the president just heard it and ignored it. Now, I want to tell you as an expert what happens. I have just said that these people, there are some people, including intelligence officers, who tell the president and the president doesn't tell them. If by tomorrow Rigiji becomes the president, they will just tell him off. Just tell him, in as far as our mandate is concerned, that is renegotiable. It's not negotiable. You will have to follow what we say. That is why you find that when somebody is a president, things change. Vindu vichenjanga. You remember when Obote was the president of Uganda, when Obote was the president of Uganda, he sent people to Kenya to kidnap Museveni's family. Museveni is now the president of Uganda. He sent people to Kenya to kidnap Kizza Besigye. So you see, these intelligence officers are above the law, if I have to say that. And I'm also saying that the president can be a populist and say that he's very safe among his people, and he's not ready, he's not willing to stay, to be followed by the person in suit. He will be overruled. This one happened in Sri Lanka. It happened in Sri Lanka on 30th July 1987. It happened in 30th July 1987. During those days, in Sri Lanka, we had a civil war. We had a civil war where people who are calling themselves Tamil Tigers were fighting the government. When they were fighting the government, India, being a neighboring country and a neighboring stronghold, came in to mediate. Just like Kenya mediated in the South Sudan issues. So we can, for lack of a better example, we can say that. So when India mediated for that, the Indian Prime Minister then, Rajiv Gandhi, went to Ceylon or Sri Lanka to mediate the two teams. After completing the negotiation, as he was leaving, one of the military people who was in the parade swung out his rifle and struck Prime Minister of India, Rajiv Gandhi, at the back of his head, kwa kisogo. So he struck him with a rifle. But when he went to strike him, the moment that he raised up his rifle and went to hit the Prime Minister of India, Rajiv Gandhi, already the guest of honor knew, that split second he knew that he was being attacked. What did he do? He bent. So he received a blow. He received a blow which was not as strong as was intended. Because if your head is here and you bend a bit, if it was to be hit where it is, you would have been hit more. But if you move it a bit like running away, you may either escape it, or if it hits you, it will not be as strong as if you would not have moved your head. The Navy officer, the seaman who hit Prime Minister of India, Rajiv Gandhi, was a seaman with the Sri Lanka Navy. His name was Rohana da Silva. And he was annoyed with the Indian government, and he was also annoyed with the Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi because of two things. He thought that the Prime Minister was pro-Tamil Tigers. He felt that even though the Prime Minister of India was trying to negotiate for their agreement, but he strongly felt that the Prime Minister of India was pro-Tamil Tigers. The other thing is that they had an operation which was called Operation Pomalai, which they had undertaken to attack the Tamil Tigers. But when the operation was being taken, when it was halfway through, the Prime Minister of India got in, intervened, and they did not complete the operation. That is why he was annoyed. He was annoyed that he believed that the Indian government and the Prime Minister were pro-Tamil Tigers. And also when there was a military operation to wipe out them, when the operation was halfway through, that is when the Indian government, through the Prime Minister, came in to mediate. So that is why he was striking. Then from that day onwards, up to today, more than 90% of the presidents in the world, when they are having a parade with the disciplined forces, they have this person in civilian who will swing in. It is this person or persons, either it is one or more, but they cannot be more than 6. These are the people whom, should the people in the military to try to take any action against the reviewing officer, then they can swing in. Now this seaman, this Navy seaman, was court-martialed. He was court-martialed for the following charges. He was court-martialed for attempted murder. He was also court-martialed for acting contrary to the naval discipline. Remember, he was a Navy seaman. And he was also, the third charge was he was insulting a state leader. Then in his defense, he said that his was not attempted murder because he had a rifle, but he did not open the bayonet. Now, for you people who have not been in the disciplined forces, bayonet is the knife that is placed at the end of the rifle. The knife that is placed at the end of the rifle, which you open, and in case you don't want to use noise like a gun, or you have completed your bullets and either you want to use the gun as a spear, or you want to use your gun as a spear, either because you have run out of bullets, or you think that using a bullet will raise a lot of noise, you can switch on the knife on your rifle and use your rifle the way you would use a spear. So he said that he could not want to, if he wanted to kill the Prime Minister of India, Rajiv Gandhi, he would have used what? A bayonet. So it was only he was trying to harm him. So he was found guilty of attempted and culpable homicide. Kizungu mrefu, he was found guilty of attempted culpable homicide. In Kenyan language, we can call that one attempted murder. So he was found guilty of attempted culpable homicide not amounting to murder. Guilty of attempted culpable homicide not amounting to murder. In the Kenyan legal language, we call that one attempted murder. He was also found guilty of insulting the Indian Prime Minister. He was sentenced to 6 years in jail. Later on, President Premadasa of Sri Lanka pardoned him after he had completed only 2.5 years out of the 6 years through a presidential pardon. After being pardoned by the presidential pardon means you have been forgiven. You have been forgiven. You see, when you go to look for a job and you have been convicted, hii inaitwa nini? CID, good conduct. Even if you are found guilty of a particular offense and jailed, and then you receive a presidential pardon, it means that huko kwa CID kwa vidole, your name will not indicate that you have committed that crime. If you had other crimes, but that particular crime or crimes that you have been forgiven by the president will never count. So after getting out of the jail, he got a degree and started running a business. Later on, he studied astrology. He became an astrologer. In 2017, on 26 January 2017, in his capacity as an astrologer, he said that, I've confused, I'll repeat myself. After he got out of jail, he went to the university and got a degree and ran his own business. Later on, he studied astrology and started claiming that he was an astrologer. When he started practicing astrology, he then said that President Sirisena of Sri Lanka would be assassinated on 26th January 2017. And he was arrested again and jailed. He's actually in jail right now for attempting to assassinate the president. What the government said was that by him stating that the president would be assassinated on 2017, he was sending a secret message to assassins to kill that president. So, my viewers, today you know why whenever a president is marching, there is a few security personnel in suits. That is when it started in 1987. Before then, it was not a practice. And lastly, we who have dealt with the VIP protection, whenever such a thing happens, it raises an alarm and it is spread worldwide and it is discussed. That is why worldwide they decided that whenever the president is doing a parade or even prime minister, such people have to go there. Of course, before I even joined the police, we used to have, before you go for parade, all of you would be checked to be found that you didn't have bullets. But because of this incident, nowadays there is an extra thing that have the security personnel working with suits within the parade. With those remarks, we complete this episode of why the presidents work with such people.